Hello. Hello, everyone. In today's live, we're going to talk about how to ignore it all to get what you really want. All right. So, with the law of attraction, we have to ignore our current reality to get the things that we actually want. And even though we often know that we have to ignore reality, the problem that often occurs is that people don't know how to ignore their current reality. All right. So today's live, we're going to talk about how do you do this because it's really important that you do this. And so today I am streaming live to both YouTube and to Facebook. So hello to everyone. Please go ahead and say hi in the chat. Go ahead and like this video as you come in. Let me know that you're here. I do see we have quite a few people in already over here on YouTube. Let's see. A lot of people here. Hi, Khaled Bill. I see my assistant Mary is here. Mary is moderating the chat today. Mary 1111. If you see her, say hi. Hello, Kat, Annika, Method Muse, the homesteading agent, Bella, Uncanny Super. It's me, Amy, Girl About Town, Al, CH. Hello, hello. Yes, please go ahead and hit the like button as you come in. And again, today we're talking about how to ignore your current reality so that you can manifest the things that you want. This is a super important thing to understand how to do, but it's challenging for people to do. Oh, look here. Thank you, Living with Gratitude. I see we've got a super chat here. Thank you so much. I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. And yes, if you guys have questions about manifesting, feel free to go ahead and put those in the chat. As usual, I'll try to go through and take some time in between my points here to answer as many of your questions as I can. All right. So, again, today we're talking about how to ignore your current reality. And you've probably heard about this before. The reason why it's really important to ignore your current reality is that your reality as it is constructed from all of your current beliefs. All right. So everything that's good and everything that's bad, it's all there to reflect accurately what's already going on in your mind. And so when you identify something that you want to change in your reality, whether it's your financial situation or your relationship situation, your job situation, any of that, when you want to make a change, it's really important to take your eyes off of your current reality because your current reality always reinforces your current beliefs. And this is something a lot of people, most people, will struggle to do because it's so easy to just look at reality and say, well, this is how it is. These are toxic people, or this is a toxic environment. There's not a lot of money here. And that just reinforces the belief. And so, this is the trap that often gets people into trouble when they want to manifest is that they have a dream, but because their current reality reflects the absence of their dream and they keep looking at it and paying attention to it, they can't seem to manifest that thing that they really want because their reality that they're paying attention to reinforces lack. Okay, so that's the main idea. And so we're going to talk about how do you ignore this? How do you get out of this conundrum? All right. And again, if you've got questions about manifesting as I'm going, go ahead and drop them on in to the chat. But let's jump into my first tip before I take any questions here. All right. So this is something that's really helpful at ignoring your reality. And it sounds kind of basic and obvious, but I'm going to give you an example of this that hopefully will really drive the point home and make it really super easy for you to tap into this energy yourself. Okay. And so if you have a dream, there's something you want to manifest and your reality does not reflect it. So let's say that you want to attract abundance, but your current reality is reflecting poverty or lack of abundance. Here's the trick. Okay. It is to act oblivious to the current circumstances. Act oblivious. And so, what I mean by this is, I want you to think about the person that has what you want and how they would be oblivious. All right. So, this is the example I've got. This is something that I noticed as I was raising my abundance. I've mentioned to you guys that as I've raised my abundance consciousness, I've attracted a lot more people who have money. Okay. And this was something that I noticed when I first moved into this community that was kind of unsettling. But once I understood what was going on, I realized that it's really kind of a lesson for all of us. So I've got some friends now that have money, okay? And not all of them do this, but I'm thinking of a couple in particular. If you're around somebody that's got money, a lot of times they are totally oblivious to the plights of poor people, like completely oblivious. So I remember I went out to dinner with this couple, and they're fairly affluent, and had been attracting money a lot longer than me. And as we were at dinner, it just seemed like the husband really didn't get it. Like the server was stressed out. She had a busy night and you could tell she was overworked. He didn't care. He didn't see it. He didn't notice. He talked as if, everyone's got money, even though it was kind of clear that this person right here probably does not have as much money as you, sir. She probably doesn't want to hear about it. But he was totally oblivious to the fact that, poverty, or not necessarily poverty, but somebody who was less abundant was in his presence. He just didn't get it. He didn't see it. And so this is something that you'll notice is that people that have things are usually completely obtuse about the people that lack them. They don't get it. They don't see it. It doesn't exist to them. The problem doesn't even exist. And that comes across as rude. It comes across as insensitive. But what you have to understand is that underneath that, that person is only seeing abundance. That's what's going on. They're completely ignoring poverty. And that's why they're able to attract money. Now, I'm not saying this to tell you guys to be jerks to people that are poor. That's not my point. That's not my point. But what I want you to think about is that if you've got a problem in your reality, you want to ignore it as much as possible by acting oblivious. Okay, so you want to act as if that problem does not exist. Even if you still see it, even if it still bugs you, act as if. This is the act as if strategy. Now, as you do this, you'll start to ignore it more and more naturally. But even in the short term, it's going to give you a really great benefit, which is that you're going to stop feeding into it. Here's the problem that a lot of people have is that they focus on their current reality and they talk about it and they explain it. They often complain about it. They put it out there and they keep reinforcing it. So if money is tight, that person, not only are they noticing it and seeing it in their reality, but they're telling their friends about it. They're complaining to their spouse about the money, their children about the money, and they're really feeding into it. But if instead you can act oblivious, act like the problem's not there, you're going to remove your focus from it. Now, a lot of times people think that if you ignore a problem, isn't that going to just not create a solution for the problem? No. The less you talk about it, the less of a problem it will be. The less you focus on it and act like it's a big deal, the less of a big deal it would be. Because the problem is created through your consciousness, your expectations. And when you start to project a message that I can ignore this is no big deal, like who cares? It's not even there, it'll start to dwindle in your reality. Okay, so remember that. Remember that, acting oblivious to your problems is your best bet. You want to be like the rich guy in the restaurant who's completely clueless that some of these other people might be struggling with money. I know it sounds insensitive to the other people, but what he's doing correctly is that he's completely ignoring signs of lack. Completely. He's completely oblivious to them. He's only noticing the wealth. Okay. So that's the first thing we want to do is if you have a problem in your reality that you want to shift, ignore it, or at least act like you're ignoring it as much as possible. Act oblivious. Okay. All right. I'm going to kind of go through here and see if I've got some questions. Oh, Olga, first link doesn't work. Ooh, it doesn't? Let's see. I'm checking them real quick, Olga. They're both working on my end. Mary, can you go ahead and put in the two course links? Olga says they didn't work for her. If you could put them back into YouTube, that'd be great. And also Facebook, if you're in my account. And yeah, that reminds me, I did pin two links to the top of YouTube. I've got two programs that are coming out. Well, not coming out. Next month, I've got a program that is a relationship attraction program that's going on its best price of the year sale. So, you guys know I like to do these sales once in a while where I take my courses and I slash the price on them for a very brief window of time. This program is called Magnetic Appeal. It's about attracting a relationship. So, if you're struggling to attract love, either due to having low feelings of self worth, or maybe you're kind of stuck in a situationship, or you're having problems getting a relationship off the ground or sealing the deal, that's a really great relationship manifestation program. And it will be coming out in September. So I put a link there where you can sign up for the updates and the coupon code when it goes live. Also, the other link is for my new program that's called Relax and Detach. This program should be ready in October. It's about letting go. So, if you struggle to stop ruminating about your dreams, if you have a hard time letting go and detaching, so you're staying very kind of obsessive or attached to the thing that you want, it's just not coming. This program is going to teach you how to become a natural detacher so that it's very easy for you to put dreams out without ruminating about them, and also to correct any current issues that you may be having that where you're holding on to a present dream. So the link for that one's also in there. And that one too, when it launches, will launch for 50% off for a very brief window of time. So if you're interested in either of those, go ahead and click those links. Hopefully they're working. If they're not, please let me know. All right, but back to this. We want to get some questions. Valerie D. Hi, Andrea. I didn't get to ask last time. You say to act when we get inspired, but what if it happens during times that we're busy, showering? I act when I become available, but it hasn't yielded results. I like this question because I actually get a lot of inspiration in the shower. Do you guys ever get that when you're in the shower and you just get a great idea? Um, I think it's because we're like relaxed, you're in the flow, you're taking it easy, and then boom, you get inspiration. So I've noticed that in the shower in particular, what I like to do is I like to bring my phone with me so that whenever I get good ideas, I can immediately put them into my phone. So, in that moment, you can't really take the action. And I think that's the thing to understand is that sometimes you get ideas and the idea is something that you're going to act on maybe when you get out of the shower, or maybe it's something that you can work on tomorrow. Maybe that's the appropriate time to begin the activity, right? So sometimes I'll get an idea for a video, but I'm in the shower right now and then I'm going to the store. Well, that's not the time. It's telling me that this is the time to start preparing for that video idea. Okay, so I'll take those ideas and I'll plug them into my phone. You could schedule a time to do them right then. So you can put them into your calendar. That's a form of taking action. Okay, so when you get inspired action activity ideas, please understand that anything that you take action towards, it's a journey. You're probably not going to get it all done at once with some of these things. And so the first step, if it's something that needs to be done maybe when you're fully showered and dressed, is, the first thing is just to acknowledge the idea and maybe set a time for it. So then you've already taken action with the idea. You put it into your calendar. Does that make sense? So that's my little trick for that. Cause yeah, I like to capture as many of those ideas as I can because they're really, really good. Hi, Susan. Hi, Christy. Hi, Neville. Hi, Banji. Hi, Winston. Aaron says tracking finances question mark. I'm not sure if you're asking me a question about that, but yes, for abundance attraction, I like tracking finances, but what I recommend that you track is money in. Track money in. Don't track money out. I don't mean don't balance your checkbook, but like it's sitting over there. I have this roster, like this list where I keep track of all the money that comes in. So I'm always kind of adding to that list. And so as time progresses, I see more and more and more go on the list. Like today, I attracted 500. Tomorrow, I attracted 200. The next day, I attracted 1,000. And I keep adding it up, adding it up, adding it up. On that list, I do not track expenses. Okay. So what I'm trying to amplify with that list is more money in, more money in, more money in. That doesn't mean again that you can't balance your checkbook, but if you're going to do an activity like that, I would focus on money in rather than money out. So you drum up money in rather than money out. Okay. All right, guys. Again, our topic today is to ignore it all to get what you really want with the law of attraction. And so I'm going through today and I'm giving you some strategies to help you ignore your current reality, which is really important because your current reality is made up of your current beliefs. And so when you get an idea to manifest something new or something different, we have to understand that the current reality isn't reflecting that belief yet because that belief hasn't gotten put out. Instead, our reality is presently mirroring back to us the lack of that thing that we want. Okay. And so if we pay attention to our reality, we get stuck. We get stuck in a feedback loop where we could keep looking at lack and we keep attracting lack. And so even though we may have a dream for something better, because we keep paying attention to reality, we keep attracting the lack of what it is that we want. So learning how to, completely ignore what's going on when it comes to the lack of your dream is super, super important. For our first tip, we talked about acting oblivious. Just act like the problem isn't a problem. Okay. It's a very simple strategy, but even if you see it, don't talk it up, kind of look away from it. Just not, don't pay attention to it. Don't talk about it. Just kind of act like it's not a big deal. That's an attitude, by the way, that the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to get with it. It's going to become very normal for you to see things that you don't like in your reality and just be like, whatever. All right. So that's our first suggestion. For our second one, this is one I really like to do. It's the environment makeover. The environment makeover. All right. So, one thing that you will notice is that your reality, again, it does reflect what's going on inside. It reflects what's going on internally. And so, when you have negative beliefs, those are projected out into your home, into your office, into your physical appearance, into your car. Any environmental cues will reflect that lack. So, if you think about it this way, somebody who's like really depressed, like maybe they're going through a breakup, you'll start to notice that their home starts to look disheveled. They start not to be put together very well. They start to look not so good. Okay. So the depression starts to project outward into the environment, and the environment starts to look depressed to confirm that depressed state back that you're putting out. Okay. So with the environment makeover, what we're trying to do is we're going to change the environment physically through action to reinforce a more positive message up here. Okay, so if there's something that you want to change or something that you want to manifest into your reality and your current reality reflects the lack of it, you want to go through and try and set up your home, your physical appearance, the interior of your car or your truck or your minivan, your office. You want to start to put up reminders of the having of that thing. So let me give you a personal example because we can use this current setup right here to showcase this for you. When I first started doing the work that I do, I had syndrome. Okay. So this is very common if somebody starts a YouTube channel or if somebody starts a business or anything like that. When you first start it, you're going to have some doubts that it's going to be successful because you've never had success in that area and your present reality does not reflect success. And so back then, before I started to have a successful YouTube channel or I started to make money through the things that I did, I had this concern that it wasn't going to work. Okay. It wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to happen. And so this is one of the strategies that I employed because I did the environment makeover. Now, at the time, when I first started and I noticed this, I realized that the environment that I was working in was really set up in a way to reinforce the idea that it wasn't going to work. And by that, I mean that back then, I used to work in my bedroom. I had like this tiny little desk that was crammed next to the bed. The desk was like broken and old. I had an older computer. The desk was covered in crap. There was stuff everywhere. And it just was not a very successful working environment. Additionally, when I was working, because I was working from home, I would get up every morning and I was working in my pajamas. Okay. So I wasn't put together, didn't have any makeup on. And so the environment was reflecting this is not a success because who thinks of having a very successful business is being crammed in by a bed, looking like trash, right? So when I figured this out, I changed it up. And so now I've created a room in my house that is an office, which is this area right here. And it's always clean, it's put together. We have symbols of success like this, the YouTube stuff, any degrees that I have, anything that recognizes success and prosperity, I try to incorporate into this room. And so when I come in here, even if I'm having a bad day or work hasn't been going well, when I walk into this office, I feel like I have my act together. Okay. And so the environment makeover is a really great thing that you can do that can take your mind off of the lack simply by putting up reminders around you that things are working out. Remember, if you are in a state of lack, your environment is also going to show those cues to you. So simply going around and redecorating, dressing yourself differently, putting things together, that can all be very helpful for you in cultivating success in your manifestation. Okay. All right, guys. I haven't come over here to Facebook in a little bit. Hello, everybody. Hope you guys are doing. Hi, Mike. Hi, Simran. I think love is all BS that us women believe in. Oh, I could talk about that, but that's a topic for another day. Yes, if you guys have questions about manifesting, go ahead and put those into the chat. Hello, Tanika. I hope I said your name right. Winston asks, when your bills are due and adding up, how do we still ignore? Okay, so this is a great environment strategy for that particular situation. And I'm glad that he brought that up. Okay, so bills are a good one. So a lot of times, if you have lots of bills, what people do with their bills is that they leave them out in the open. Okay, so you may find that you're leaving your bills on the countertop or you're leaving them on your desk or you're attending to them regularly. Maybe you're shuffling through them regularly. One thing that's helpful with those is to find a place to just file them. And as soon as they come in, put them in the file. All right. So for me personally, with bills, I get bills too. I mean, we all get bills, but I don't attend to them all the time. So I have one day out of the month where I do my bills, one day. And anything that comes in just gets immediately filed away. So I'm not opening it, I'm not looking at it, I'm not paying attention to it until it's time for me to actually sit down and pay for it. Now, this is helpful because what it's going to do is the other 29 or 30 days of the month, you're not attending to, oh my gosh, these bills. Oh my gosh, these bills. Oh my gosh, another bill, another bill, another bill. Rather, you're only attending to it at one time and you're banging them all out together. Now, in along with this, you can use that other tip that I was talking about before, which is that keep track of money coming in daily. So if any money comes in at all, pay attention to that. Okay, checks that come in, put them up. So I have a cork board in my office back here. Anytime a check comes in, I'll cash it, like deposit it on the mobile app, but I'll put the actual physical check and put it up there on the board so I see it all the time. Okay, so keep reminders of money coming in around you all the time. Any reminders of money going out, file them and just attend to them once a month if you can figure that out. If you have to do it like once every 2 weeks, you could do that, but try to do it as infrequently as possible, attending to those bills. I hope that's helpful. And yes, if you guys have not yet, please make sure to go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow my Facebook if you are not already. I do lives like this every single week. And then also, if you are new to my work and you have not yet taken my manifesting test, I do recommend that you try that as well. I do have a free 5-minute manifesting test where you can put something out and watch it come back. It's very quick to take. If you're interested in taking that, the link for that is manifestingtest.com. Again, that's manifestingtest.com. Mary, if you would go ahead and drop the link for the manifesting test into the chats, I would appreciate it. If you look into the chats, you should probably be able to see those. at least on YouTube. If it's not on Facebook, again, manifestingtest.com is the direct link. All right. So again, today we're talking about ignoring your current reality to get the things that you want. And I'm giving you guys some suggestions on how you can get into this zone of being able to ignore problems and ignore lack so that you don't keep reinforcing the lack of your dream in your reality. You got to get your eyes off of what is in order to create what is not yet. Okay. And so the first suggestion again was about acting oblivious. Just act like it's not a problem. Act like the bills aren't there. Act like the people aren't toxic. Act like it's just not a problem. Like it's completely unfazing you as much as you can. Okay. It's okay if you still feel that way, but just acting that way is going to give it less attention and is going to start to cultivate within you a more natural state of just, brushing things off. Secondly, we talked about the environment makeover. And now we're going to talk about ghosting. Ghosting gets a bad rap, but you want to ghost problems as much as you can. Ghost them. Okay. So, what I mean by this, avoidance. Okay. Let's say, for instance, that you've got, I get this question a lot. Andrea, I've got really toxic family members, really toxic family members. And it's so hard for me to change them. Okay. They just keep complaining. They're so rude. They're right there. What do I do? Ghost them as much as you can. And a lot of people will tell you that's just straight up rude and mean. But honestly, that's really the only hope that you have for shifting the situation. Because as long as you hang in there with people and you go there with them, you're going to reinforce those toxic patterns. So let's say that your mom calls and you answer the phone and it immediately goes south. Well, find a reason to get off the phone. Okay. Let's say that you're at your house and your spouse wants to come up and complain about bills. Excuse yourself and go to the bathroom. Literally walk away. Now, if you're in an exceptionally toxic environment, like if you've got, issues with people that are really, really bad, ghost them 1,000%. Again, a lot of people feel like this is rude or whatever, but you have to understand if you're dealing with problems that keep coming up, it's because your focus stays on them. So if somebody's always negative and you keep giving them your attention, they're always going to continue to be negative. And so ghosting is a very powerful strategy. Get away from conversations that remind you of lack, interactions that make you feel bad, because what those do is they reinforce the idea that the things that you want aren't coming. Again, a lot of people feel like this is a bad thing, but you do need to understand this. If you keep holding on to people and situations that remind you of lack, you are never going to get the things that you want. When you let them go, now your hands are open to receive new people and new situations that actually reinforce what it is that you want. Being willing to let go of bad conversations is a way of telling the universe, I'm only going to talk when the conversation is up to my standards. Okay. It's about having higher standards. And when you have higher standards like that, you're going to be a magnet for people who treat you with respect and for situations that remind you of your abundance and for the dreams that you want to have themselves. So while ghosting gets a really bad rap, I do recommend it. Okay, if there are toxic things in your environment or if there are things that are going on that are always reminding you of lack, turn it off. Don't talk about it. Don't text about it. Don't call about it. Don't go to parties about it. Don't go to rallies for it. Okay, just ghost. Ghosting is very, very helpful. All right, and don't think of it as being rude. Think of it as improving your world. You are the creator of your reality. What you attend to creates your world. Do you want to create it full of trash? No. Okay. So when you're ghosting, you're basically taking out the trash. Okay. You're making your world more beautiful. I know that sounds kind of harsh, but it is true. It does work. So always be willing to ghost conversations about things that not working out in your favor. Always be willing to ghost parties about, that are around things that make you feel lack. You got to be willing to do that in order to be open to, people and situations that remind you of having. Okay, let go of those things that do not. Thanks for putting that in there, Mary. I appreciate it. I'm trying to go back up because I missed a lot of stuff here. How do we, okay, Jeanette, Florida. I think it's Jeanette FL. How do we ignore our primitive responses and go against instincts to receive validation from other people? Ooh, I like that question. Yeah, wanting to get validation from other people really is something you want to try and get away from. I'm glad you brought that up because when we want validation from other people, what it's really kind of saying is that my happiness, my love, my energy is outside of me. Okay. I got to get something from the outside world in order to feel better. And unfortunately, that really doesn't work because when you're saying my happiness is outside of me, you're always going to kind of stay in this state of not really feeling your best unless you're able to have someone around to get that validation. And it becomes a situation where if you're really hooked on outside validation, your sense of self worth is going to diminish. And you're not going to feel like you really have any control over your vibration or your ability to be in your highest state. So this is really good. And I think a lot of us do look for validation, right? I'm on YouTube right now. We're getting likes and comments. So there's some validation, right? So we all do it. But we do want to cultivate focusing in on the self. So this is something that I've learned to do that's really helpful. And it helps to do it and then to notice what happens in response. So I want you to think about something that you're really good at or something that you're really proud of doing. It's something that brings you intrinsic joy. So maybe it's singing or it's artwork or it's cooking. For me, it's like I like working out, I go to the gym. It's something that you can really get into flow with. And when you're doing those activities, if you can do them around other people, that's ideal. So maybe cook in the kitchen when the family's around or paint your art, on the beach. If you work out at the gym, there's people around. But get engrossed and really get in the flow and just make it your mission to just get in the flow. And then what I want you to notice, don't look for it. But when it happens, now you're going to know. You're going to make the correlation. When you're engrossed and in flow, you're going to get attention. It's going to happen. So when I'm at the gym, I'm really good at getting dialed into my workout. I really am. I can block out the entire world and I can really get into it. And then all of a sudden, I'll look up and people are looking at me or they're coming up and giving me compliments. Oh, wow, that looks so good. Or how did you get in shape? And it's like the whole world just starts to pay attention to me. Now, why? It's because I wasn't looking for them. Instead, in that moment, I was focused on me, focused on me, focused on me. And so the rest of the world started to focus on me, focus on me, focus on me. It's the law of attraction. Okay. When we try to seek validation, we're placing that focus outside of ourselves. And so then what often happens is that I'm looking outside. I'm not looking at me. I'm looking at you. That person won't look at you. They'll run away from you. Okay. So that strategy of trying to seek validation from other people actually doesn't work. It's something that a lot of people struggle with is that they try to find the attention and it actually pushes people away. So what you want to do instead is you want to focus on you and building yourself up as much as you want. And then just notice that when you do that, you get validation. You weren't even seeking it, but you get validation. So just noticing that is going to help you because it's going to remind you that when you start chasing outside validation, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, that doesn't work. Let me just go focus on myself. Okay. Hope that's helpful. All right. Okay. So, again, today we're talking about ignoring reality to get what you really want. Again, we got to ignore what's going on so that we can stop attracting things that we don't want, or we can stop attracting lack. Okay. So, like, if you want a relationship and in your present reality, there is no relationship, You don't want to be noticing that. You don't want to be noticing the absence of a partner. You have to figure out how to ignore that so you stop attracting lack and you're able to attract the partner. Same goes for money, same goes for jobs, same goes for weight loss. It all works the same way. Okay, so again, for our first suggestion, we talked about acting oblivious. Just act like it's not a problem. That's the first one. Second one that we have here is the environmental makeover. The third one we have is ghost the problems. So any conversations or people that remind you of lack, get out of those conversations. Don't go to those events. Don't deal with that stuff. It doesn't mean that you can't ever talk to those people again, but like when the conversation revolves around lack, get out and ghost it immediately. All right. So the next suggestion I have for you is the snow globe effect. I call this the snow globe effect. And so like a snow globe, when it's just sitting there, maybe there's a house or a little log cabin on a mountain and you can see it in the snow globe very clearly. But when you shake it up and all the snow starts circulating through the globe, now maybe you can still kind of see the house or the cabin, but it's kind of hidden and you're really not noticing it. Instead, you're really noticing all the snow around the globe. Okay. And so that's why I call this the snow globe effect. What we want to do is we want to shake up our reality and put a lot of stuff in it that is distracting. Okay. So, one thing that we do is we construct our reality again based off of our present beliefs. And when our present beliefs don't change and they stay the same for long periods of time, reality starts to look very static. It stays the same. Okay. So, we have kind of the same day to day routine. You live in the same place. You see the same people. You do the same stuff on the weekend. You wear the same clothes. You will settle into naturally into a rut. And you guys have probably all seen this where things just get very monotonous. Okay. So when that's going on, that means that we're kind of stuck in our beliefs. If we're wanting to create something new, we want to stop looking at our present reality that's reminding us of the lack of money or the lack of relationship or the lack of the car. We want to stop focusing on that. What we can do is we can create the snow globe effect. And by doing this, what we're doing is we're adding in new things to change reality, to put some snow into it. Okay. Because once we have new things, what's going to happen is the new things are very distracting. Okay. They're very distracting and they put you into a new chapter of life. Okay. And a new chapter of life will allow you to start with more of a blank slate. So instead of trying to create something that you want in this environment that looks like things aren't working, you're going to shake it up, change your environment. Your environment's going to look different. And it's going to be a lot easier for you to be optimistic about what you want. And it's going to be super easy for you not to pay attention to lack. Okay. So, for instance, and I used this one recently. I love this one. This is one of my favorite ones. All right. So, recently I was having some issues with a personal relationship and just that just wasn't jiving, wasn't working, but I couldn't seem to like get away from it. Have you ever had that happen where you're you're having problems with somebody and they just stick around and you can't seem to get away from it? Well, doing this is a really great way of distracting you from those kinds of issues. So you can kind of detach from the problem and either get away from that relationship or get away from the problems in that relationship and allow it to heal and get better. And so when I noticed that this was going on and it was becoming very Groundhog's Day and I couldn't stop ignoring the problems, instead of, being a jerk or anything like that, I just added more things into my reality and shook it up. Okay. So one thing I started doing was I started going to the gun range. So I do live in Florida. I know not everybody likes the gun range, but to me, like that was fun because it was like exciting, different, it really shake things up and get my mind thinking about something totally different than what I'm usually focused on. I changed my work schedule. I changed my gym schedule. I just changed a bunch of stuff. And so now it's like I'm living in a different kind of world than I was back then when I was having those problems. It was very easy for me to stop worrying about those problems. And then the problems within that relationship just dissolved. They went away because I wasn't focused in on them because now my world was different and there were so many other things to distract me. I didn't have time to think about those problems. Okay, so when you're not being able to manifest something, or if you're having some kind of problem in your reality that you really want to distract yourself from so you can manifest a better result, Instead of fighting against the problem and trying to make it go away, instead, you can just sit there and sprinkle new stuff in your reality to make you kind of enter into a new chapter where you're distracted and your focus is on new stuff. Okay, so you stop focusing on the problems in your reality and those problems can resolve themselves. Okay, so that's the snow globe effect. All right, Tanika asks, how do you navigate shadow triggers when you're trying to heal? Oops, let me open that up. Coping mechanisms that you created during traumatic events. Ooh, that's a good question. Well, part of it is knowing that those things are there. Sometimes people don't even know that those are there. Um, Depends on, like, for trauma, I if you've never heard of EMDR therapy, that might be really helpful for that. If it's true trauma, because yeah, sometimes if you have like CPTSD or something like that, there are these things that happen where you just kind of automatically react. EMDR can be very helpful if you go to a really good EMDR therapist. But yeah, noticing that those are there is good. Meditation is good. Calming things are good. And it depends on what you're trying to heal from. The big thing is not feeding into them. If you don't go to therapy for that stuff, the big thing is not feeding into them, identifying them for what they are. Oh, okay. That was just kind of my old way of doing things. Slow, deep breathing is helpful. So when you get into a state where you get triggered, what will automatically happen is that your heart rate will go up and your body will start to produce like cortisol and adrenaline, and you'll start to get really kind of anxious. And so the simple way to combat that is to take slow, deep breaths that will kick in your parasympathetic nervous system, which will automatically release calming hormones through your bloodstream and calm you back down. So that was actually something that I learned way back when that was really helpful, was that if I had some kind of automatic, triggering event. I come from an abusive home, so I had a lot of those things. So if something would bother me in my environment, I would automatically get upset. Taking just a big breath, holding it for 5 seconds, letting it out for 5 seconds would automatically kind of cut that down. And if you make that a habit every time you notice that happening, you'll find that you just do it automatically. And I still to this day do that. So like if something like rattles me, like if my son he dropped something yesterday, it was like a can on the floor and I just startled and I immediately and held it and then breathed it out really slow. And then that stress just went right down. So you can condition that as a habit so that every time that happens you automatically calm yourself down. Great question. Uncanny super. Every time I watch Andrea's videos, an avalanche of cash arrives immediately in a million different ways. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. Homesteading agent, do you have any suggestions on how to deal with the bill collectors as you are manifesting money to pay them? Oh, I like the ghosting technique for that. The bill collectors. Yeah, I mean, how much do you really need to talk to them, right? Uh, I would try to avoid those conversations if I can. I'm not saying that you have to avoid all of them. The other thing is too, this might be fun. This just kind of came to me. So just for kicks, okay? Try this. I don't know if this would work, but this reminds me of something I used to do when I was a teacher. So when I was a high school teacher, they made us work registration every year. And so registration is this god awful event where every child in the school and their parents and their extended family come in right before school happens and they have all this paperwork they got to fill out. And the parents are ticked off because they're missing work. And the kids are ticked off because they have to come back to school. And there's just a lot, not everyone's mad, but it can be a little crazy. And so when I learned about the law of attraction, I was actually a high school teacher and I really hated working registration. But I was like, can I law of attraction this situation? Like, what can I do? So I decided that when I was working my registration table, I made it a game that every time a parent or a kid came up, it was my job to get them to laugh or smile. That was my job. It wasn't to get the paper. I got the paperwork filled out, but that wasn't my job. My job was to get them to crack up or to laugh or to smile. So I might suggest that if you got to take a call for something like that, the immediate thing is you're stressed out about the money, but change that focus. Is I'm going to see if I can crack up this bill collector. I'm going to see if I can do it. See if you can do it. And you know what? That actually does remind me. Let me tell you guys another story. I'm going off topic, but I'm going to keep going because this is a good idea. I'm realizing I've done this a few times. You can do this when you get pulled over. So I drive fast sometimes, and I remember getting pulled over. This was a couple years ago, and I mean I was going like pretty fast. And the cop pulls me over, and he comes up to my truck because I was driving a truck at the time. He's like, do you know why I'm pulling you over? I'm like, I'm pretty sure. He goes, do you know how fast you were going? I'm like, actually, sir, I don't. And he's like, oh, well, you were going like 15 miles an hour over. I'm like, oh, really? I thought it was way more than that, just to laugh and see if I could get him to crack up. And he started laughing. He thought that that was funny. He just gave me a warning and let me go. Okay. So this is something I recommend. A lot of times when there's like this alarm situation, the immediate thing is you start worrying about how do I get out of trouble? Oh my gosh, this is going wrong. This is going to be a bad event. But if you can change your focus to, can I make this a funny interaction? Can I make this a fun interaction? You get a different result. So I might, if you have to get stuck on a phone call with a bill collector, try that out. But I mean, ghost him if you can. CZ OMG. Hi, I finally made the live. How cool. Nice to see you. Zaya, how to get out of debt. I mentioned this in the last live. Paying for most of your stuff in cash and not for financial reasons, not because that's what a financial advisor would tell you to do, but because the energy of money. When you pay on credit cards, what you're always telling the universe is, I don't have money for this. I don't have money for this. I don't have money for this. If you pay in cash or you pay with a credit card that you pay off each month, every time you buy something, you're saying to the universe, I have more than enough money for this. I have more than enough money for this. I have more than enough money for this. So switching over as soon as you can to only paying on cash or with credit cards that you pay off is advisable. That's my first suggestion to get you going. If you have not tried that yet, please do. Um, Mary, can you find that program? We got, I think it's Money Mastery. Money Mastery. I have a program on debt release. I'll have Mary drop that one in the chat if she can find it. Money Mastery. That one kind of goes through a bunch of stuff, but that's the first suggestion. And just simply try and focus on that idea. I always have enough. I always have enough when you spend, because that's the primary thing that's going on is you've been saying through your spending, I don't have enough. I don't have enough. I don't have enough. And then the universe reduces the amount of money that comes into your pocket. I hope that's helpful. Ooh. Jessica on Facebook here. How do you ignore the physical aspect of the undesirable version circumstance? Going to work, not having a home, physical pain. Well, a lot of it is, those are all different situations, but the main thing is figuring out how to reframe it and focus on something different. So like what I was talking about there before with the cop or working registration, the focus is on the problem. Okay, I don't like the body, or I don't like the ticket, or I don't, this is the thing I don't like that's happening in the moment. But if you can find a way to change your objective in the moment and create almost a game out of it, that can be very helpful. Okay, so focusing on like if you have physical pain, okay, what happens is a lot of times we're focused right in on that. Where is the most painful part of my body? It's getting all of my attention. Okay, so if my shoulder hurts, I'm thinking about the shoulder, the shoulder, the shoulder, the shoulder, and I can't get my mind off of it. What you could do in that situation is play the game. Okay, what's the best feeling part of my body? Scan through and find what section of your body feels the best. Well, right now, That's like my right calf. So I'm focusing on that. My right calf, my right, and you'll notice that as your mind goes there, now your mind is just focused on the calf. Okay. And so the mind goes away from the pain. That's a big one for the pain, by the way, guys, is that finding something else to focus on in the body that is better feeling can be helpful, or just something else in general. Okay. So watching something funny, finding something different to focus on is always helpful. All right. Going to work, make it a game. Make not having home make not having I saw another question about homelessness in there somewhere. Make it a game. It sounds bad. I mean, it sounds like I'm being super insensitive. Like if you're homeless and you don't have a home, that sucks. Okay, I get it. Make it a game rather than I don't have a home. This is an adventure. This is an adventure. Okay. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not saying that it's great to be homeless, but what I'm saying is that you have to find a way to focus on the present environment as somehow working out for you and being pleasant. So you want to reframe it, redefine what it is. That will help. Oh goodness, CZ, super chat. Is that your first super chat? Thank you for sharing that with me. I appreciate it. All right, here's your question. How do you act oblivious when things aren't going your way without being delulu or throwing it away? For example, the love of my life is back with his ex, was diagnosed with ALS, and is always checking in with me. Well, first of all, I would say being delulu is a great idea. Okay. So I aim to be as delusional as possible. So if you find yourself being delusional, pat yourself on the back because you're trying to create a different world that requires you to be more in a fantasy state. So delusional means that you're not buying into the present reality. Okay, so that's not a bad thing. Love of the life is back with his ex, diagnosed with ALS, and is always checking in with me. And you don't want to throw it away. What? Okay. Do you want them back? Is that what you want? I'm trying to understand if you want the ex back. Let's see if you write back. Let me know. But in the meantime, in the meantime, focus on yourself as much as possible. Focus on yourself. When it comes to people, again, the big thing is dialing into your personal flow state and doing what you want to do. So remember that example I gave of like if you're in flow state, like when I'm at the gym and I'm really dialed in, and then people pay attention to me and people want to be around me. That's what you kind of want to cultivate. Okay, so let's focus on all these shenanigans that the ex is doing. Okay, who cares what the ex is doing? I'm gonna focus on me, focus on me, focus on me. If you want the ex back, when the ex comes around, be welcoming, be friendly, focus on what you like about them, focus on his health, focus on the positive, focus on having fun, so that when you have an interaction with your ex, it's a positive interaction. It's not an interaction that is fueled by drama and stuff that you don't want to be dealing with. Okay, so that's kind of the thing is like right now, if the ex is around and it's annoying and bothersome, but you don't want to throw them away, you're paying attention to them, but you're paying attention to their problems. Okay, so if your ex calls you and wants to complain about, if he's checking in with you and complaining about his issues, I would ghost those conversations. Like, hey, okay, I'll talk to you later. Bye. Talk to him when it's on a positive note. Hope that's helpful. Claudio, why are you no longer a high school teacher? I like teaching kids. I really did. And now that my daughter's in high school and my son's in middle school, like I like that age. But the system wasn't the best for me. I like my freedom. And in my experience, working as a teacher was rather restrictive of my freedom. So working for myself was something I wanted to do. So that's why I stopped working as a teacher and now I do teaching kind of like this. And speaking of teaching, quick notice, Mary, if you throw this one in the chat, a reminder that I do have a membership program If you're at all interested in checking out that, if you like this kind of content, I do have a membership platform that comes with an app, and it does have over 300 manifesting resources, videos, audios, etc., that are not found here on YouTube or anywhere else. If you're interested in checking that out, that is at andreaschulman.com. And Mary 1111 has a direct link that she's putting into YouTube right now. If you're interested in checking that out, again, that's a membership program with all of my teachings that you can't find on YouTube. All right. Oh my gosh, so many questions. I want to answer so many of these. Ilma, what is the definition on focusing on ourselves? Do we need to take action to create something? What about actions like watching movies or listening to music? Good question. You don't need to take action. Okay. The big thing is you really want to dial into what do you enjoy right now the most? So it could be watching movies, it could be listening to podcasts, it could be cooking, it could be working. But the idea is that in each moment, you're really focusing in on what do I want to be doing? And really, as much as you can, walking that tight line. It's very easy to get pulled off of that and distracted by your environment, distracted by problems, distracted by drama, doing things out of obligation. Whenever we do that, we veer outside of ourselves and we start looking outside of ourselves for results rather than staying in our happy place, in our Zen place. So, whatever that means, whatever is going to bring you the most joy or peace or comfort in the moment, that's what you want to be doing. And learning how to give yourself permission to do that. That's the big thing is that a lot of people are really trained to do things for other people, to do things out of obligation. I get it. You know, you have a job and they want you there at 8 a.m. Okay. I get it. All right. But along that path, how can I get to work the happiest that I can? How can I enjoy my work today the best that I can? Doing as much as you can with the current situation to allow yourself to enjoy it as much as possible. That's the game. Okay. And as long as you're doing that and you're always asking yourself, in this situation, how can I be doing this the best as possible for myself? You'll stay internally focused because you're focused on me. What do I want? What's going to make me feel good? Rather than how do I get that? What does that person want? Okay. That's external focus. Whenever we become externally focused, we start separating. Okay. That's what starts happening. And we don't manifest as well. All right. Tutu, question. My online business is still not able to generate stable income. If I look for a job to support this stage of my business, will I show no faith to the universe? Oh, it's a good question. You know, if you can avoid doing that, it depends on where you're at. Okay, so the line is this. You if you can jump in full force and not get the job, I would recommend it. I would, because it's gonna force you to stay on track. Like, I don't have time to be negative about this. I gotta stay positive. I gotta stay optimistic. Right. And when we lean back on something else, what we start saying is, I don't think this is gonna work. It's not gonna work. So if you can avoid it, I would. But that being said, like, you also have to ask yourself where you're at. Like, if you're in a place where you really feel stressed out about it and getting a side job is going to bring you relief, well, then that's the better move. So notice that you focus on yourself. Again, which of those options is going to help me feel the most optimistic about this situation? I liken this to like the situation with medicine. Okay. So with medicine, so you guys all know that with the law of attraction, right? You could heal anything, you could heal any condition with your mind, right? So you could heal a cold, you could heal cancer. But sometimes we get sick, right? And the mind isn't doing it, right? So have you ever gotten a cold and you tried to law of attraction yourself out of it, but it just didn't happen? Okay. Well, in cases like that where you're sick and the mind isn't doing it, It's helpful to go see the doctor or go get the medicine. Why? Because right now I don't believe I can do it on my own. But I feel more confident taking this substance or seeing this person. I can believe more that I'm going to get better if I go see this specialist. I can believe more if I go take this pill. So I would ask myself that. Do you believe that getting that job is going to help you stay positive and help you drive business more? Or do you feel that flying solo is going to give you that opportunity? It depends on you. Like I said, I like the leap, but I like taking leaps. So that's kind of more the way I often roll. So I would ask yourself that question. Which of those two choices makes you feel more optimistic about driving results into your business? Whichever one it is the internal answer. And again, that's where we want to go. We want to focus inward to get that result. Emma, what does unfinished projects say to the universe? I have so many in my personal and unprofessional life. It says you didn't want to finish them. I mean, you know what I would say? I feel like what you're saying there, Emma, is I feel ashamed that I didn't finish all this stuff. Poor, not poor me, bad me. I should have done better. How about this? I was smart enough to realize that that wasn't working for me, and my time was better spent doing something I actually wanted to do. Okay. What's wrong with abandoning things you don't want to do? A lot of people have that, oh, I didn't finish this, or I did too many things, or this didn't happen. Maybe you're just redirecting yourself. Maybe you already got what you needed. Like, I like to read. I read books. Books, that's what people read, right? I read books, and I used to be like, okay, I got to read it cover to cover. And if I didn't read it cover to cover, I felt like I was kind of cheating. Now, like, if it loses me, I put it down. Like, I'm not feeling it anymore. Or maybe I already got the information out of that book I needed, and reading more of that book is just going to be a waste of my time. Like, maybe you already got what you needed from those projects to go do the next thing you're really supposed to be doing. Reframe how you're looking at them. Can you share your skincare routine? Okay, I exfoliate twice a week. I do an avocado mask after that. I use retinol. I moisturize each night. Nothing too crazy, but like I always moisturizing. I do use some serums, stuff like that. Not very law of attraction, but hey, why not? Stephen the artist question: crowdfunding. What should your attitude be when you need people to support your business? Should the sign say "I need"? Crowdfunding? Okay, so what I would probably think about is how are those people going to be benefited? How are they going to be benefited? A lot of times people are looking for it to get money. It's like get investors. So I want something from you. Think about what are they going to be getting? So why does it benefit them to help fund your business? Does that make sense? Like if I'm making something, like I make courses that I sell, right? So I'm getting money from people, but when I'm building the courses, what I'm really, really focused on is like, what does the person, taking this course want to know, and how can I help them the best? Right. And so that's what I'm really focused on is what am I giving? What am I giving? What am I giving? Okay. And then when that's kind of the message that you're putting out, the recipient feels like they're involved in that process. Okay. That it's about them, that it's attractive to them, that it speaks to them. Right. So I would be thinking about that. Like when you're talking about the funding, when you're seeking out investors, focusing in on really the people that your business is going to be serving, what you're going to be doing, how you're going to be benefiting the world. And that's really the message, talking it up. This is a great thing. This is a great investment. It's a great investment for all of us because it's going to bring all of these things. I hope that makes sense. A lot of times people are just, can you help me? Give me some money. All right. That's going to be a different result that you're going to get from there. And it also does say, yeah, it does say I need if we're focused just on give me the money, give me the money, give me the money. Right. More, we want to have this sense of I have this really lucrative idea that's going to make a lot of money. So whatever you invest is going to be, there's going to be more coming back in some way, form, or fashion. That's kind of what you want to focus on. That there's an abundance that's coming to that person, and that your business idea is an abundant idea on its own. Okay. All right, guys. Oh, we've been on for like an hour. Thanks so much for writing in with all of your questions, guys. I really do appreciate it. Again, if you were interested in those two courses, I do have one going on sale next month. That's the Magnetic Appeal Relationship Attraction Program. That one's going to be 50% off for 1 week only. If you did want to be available to get that, get those updates, and get that code for the 50% off, make sure that you click that button or that link that's at the top of the chat on YouTube. Mary, if you go ahead and drop those into YouTube and Facebook, I would appreciate it. That one's the Magnetic Appeal Program. That one's really good, especially if you're struggling with self worth issues or having a hard time really not nailing down a relationship. It can work for people who are single. Maybe you're going through an issue with an ex. Maybe it's a specific person issue. Doesn't really matter, gender or any of that kind of stuff. It works for people of all different ages and sexual orientations. Mary will go ahead and drop the link for that one into the chat if you are interested in getting updates for that program when it goes on 50% off next month. And then additionally, again, I am working on a new program. This one's called Relax and Attach. And this program is all about becoming a master of letting go so that you no longer ruminate about your desires or obsess about them. And so that program is going to teach you how to be a master detacher. Also, if you have things that you're currently ruminating on, I'm going to walk you through how to actually detach from those. That program, again, should be going live in October. And when it goes live, it will be 50% off for the first week only. So if you're interested in getting updates on that program, Mary's also putting a link for that one in the chat as well. As for the lives, I will be back again on Sunday. That's kind of been my schedule usually, Sundays and Thursdays usually. But yes, I'll be here on Sunday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern. I will be on YouTube. Instead of Facebook, I'll be on Instagram on Sunday. So if you're on Facebook, you can catch me on Instagram or on YouTube. All right, guys. But again, thank you so much for following along with me. I do appreciate it. And I really look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Bye bye.